Hi, this is Will at Unique Capture again. This particular tutorial, even I'm about to go through here, is once again based on background textures. This time, instead of just starting from scratch and using some basic ideas to create some bits and pieces, I want to look at the idea of starting off with basically a seeded picture. And by that, what I mean is let's go and grab some textures from around about the house or whatever. Here I've got some pictures I've grabbed. For example, this is just a bit of old wallpaper I'd hang around. This is a snapshot of close-up of some concrete, which is part of the surround around a fireplace. This is some old fancy plastering from the ceiling, and this is a brick from the house from outside. So just gives you an idea. These are sort of textures you can use to start the ball rolling. What I'm going to do today, I'm going to start with the concrete and the plaster. So I'm going to open these two as layers in Photoshop. So if you use Bridge, you can select the two of them and then go to Tools, Photoshop, open in where am I going? Open, load into layers. If you don't, let's do it this way instead. Let's just open this one up here. Just double click and open it up in Photoshop. Pull this one out like this. Then I'm going to go back to Bridge and grab the other file. It's now a separate file. So what I'm going to do now, I want to copy it into the other one. There are numerous ways of doing it. The way I tend to do it, just a habit really, is on the Mac I do a Command A to select the whole picture. On the PC it's a Control A. Now I'm going to do a Command C to copy it. Again on the PC, Control C. Now I'm going to select my first picture, which is this one here. So the tab. And simply do a Command V or Control V to paste it in, and there we've got those two layers. I'm just going to go back into this one and get rid of it. It's going to take up any more memory than we have to. Right, so what we have, if I turn this the visibility off here, the top one, you can see we've got the concrete on the bottom, and we have the plaster on the top. Right, what I'm going to do to start with then, I'm going to set the blending mode of this top layer down to soft light. There we go. What I do now is I want to combine these two layers into a new layer, but I don't want to lose these, so I don't want to flatten them. I just want a new layer but leave these two behind, and that will become apparent, the reason for doing that a bit later. Right, so with the top layer selected, on the Mac I do a Command Alt Shift E on the keyboard. Okay, that's Command Alt Shift E. On the PC that will be a Control Alt Shift E. And what that's done is combine these two layers below into one new layer and left the two layers behind for me. And as I say, the reason for me doing that will become apparent in a moment. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my filter menu because I want to apply a bit of an effect to this to try and start getting the ball rolling on this texture. I'm going to go to Filter, Sketch, and the one I'm interested in using today is called Plaster. So I click on Plaster, and that'll come up and do some stuff for us. It's a bit zoomed in, so let's pull that back. I use the Command or Control plus and minus to zoom in and out on these ones. You can use a little plus and minus in the corner if that suits you better. I quite like this particular look. You can try different things if you like, of course, and that's what this is all about. I quite like the plaster one, and within each of these particular effects, you can play around with these sliders, image balance and so on. So in this case, if we pull this down, it's going to do something different to our picture. In this case, it makes it rather boring. So I'm going to go back to 20 and just put that little bit of odds and sods of texture back in, and I'm going to click OK. Now, the reason I did that combination before will become apparent now. I'm going to switch off this middle layer, and then I'm going to go back up to our top layer here. I'm going to click select the opacity, and I'm going to bring that down just to let a little bit of this bottom layer show through. Just give me a little bit of that texture and colour creeping in there. So, okay, so that's you can play around to your heart's content with these things. So I'm just going to go there. I want to leave some of these little bits and pieces showing through. So maybe a little tiny bit more, maybe something like that is going to be good for us. Right, so I'm quite liking that so far, but I just wanted to show you some other things you can do to add a little bit of interest, I guess, into these things. This may or may not be a technique you've used before. but what I'm going to do is show you how to create a new blank layer that you can put some effects on, so if you don't like them you can turn them off later. Now with my top layer selected on the PC, I'm going to do Command Shift N, and that will create me a brand new layer. It doesn't really matter what it's called. I'm going to call it, let's say, curve for the sake of argument. Click OK. This is a brand new blank layer. As you can see, it's completely transparent, so I'm going to put this back on. Now then, what I'm going to do is I want to try and create some sort of a curvature effect in here, some sort of relief, if you will. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to select the pen tool from over here. So just click on the pen tool. I'm going to click somewhere down here, it doesn't really matter where. And I'm going to click somewhere up here, somewhere like this for the sake of argument. And then you can click on the line, anywhere on the line you like. Make sure it's pretty much on the line. Click again and you'll see this will appear. If you get anything other than that, for example, if you click just off the line and you get another line to there, it means you weren't close enough to the line. So click on the line, and then if you grab this little dot in the middle, but before you do, if you press the Command key and hold it, or on the PC the Control key, so I'm going to press the Command key, I'm then going to do a left click and I'm going to drag, and you'll see that I get this curve. So I'm going to pull my curve down like this just to get myself a bit of a curve going on, something like that. That's fine. And now I'm going to continue to build my path around the outside of my picture, because I don't want this path to sort of encroach on my picture particularly much in this particular instant. So I'm going to walk my way around here, and then I'm going to complete that. Now then, if you've got your paths palette showing, you can go and make this into a selection. If not, don't worry about it. You can just do a right click. If I can actually land on the line, I could do a right click. Yep, I can't land on the line. Let me just try one more time. See that, and I'll show you another. Actually, no, the easiest way is just to do a Control click. Sorry, not a right click. Ignore me on that one. Control click, and it's still not letting me do it. Okay, for some reason. What I'm going to do, then I'm going to go to my paths palette and do it this way. I don't know why it's doing it. Let's just do one more go at this. No, don't know why it's doing that. Anyway, so go to your Windows menu and make sure that you have this, click on here, and that will make sure your paths is showing. So up to paths, you'll see this work path. With this one selected, so it's highlighted in blue, come down to this little toggle here, click on that, and that will make this your selection. So I'm sorry that didn't work on the right click, it should do, but I'm obviously doing something a bit wrong. Right, with this selected, and with this top layer selected, I'm going to select a brush, and I'm going to make sure that brush is really super soft. And in this case, I'm going to make sure it's fairly small. You need to make it bigger and smaller using the open and close square brackets. And make sure it's fairly small in this case. I want black as my foreground layer. So in order to get black, I just press D on the keyboard. That makes black my foreground layer. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get paint around here where you can see me move the brush now. But I'm going to paint close to the line. And the reason for this is that with this area selected, my brush will only be active in the selected area. So by brushing around here, I'm going to get quite a sharp edge and just let the paint, if you will, spill into the region that's selected. And if I crack on and do it, you'll see what I mean. So I'm just going to come around here a little bit, and you can probably just see that that is just spilling slightly over that line. And it can be a little bit rough. Just be as subtle as you can with that. That's fine. When you've done that, do a Command or a Control D on the keyboard to deselect that selection, and you'll see we've got a bit of a thing going on there, a little bit of a relief sort of line happening there. Now what I want to do in this instance, I want to get two of these just to get a bit more interest. So with this still selected, simply do a Command J on the Mac or a Control J on the PC. It creates you a new layer, and now with this new layer still selected on the Mac, Command T, on the PC, Control T. And that makes a selection of that layer for you. Now you'll see that when you've got these boxes, you can pull these around and mess around with it, whatever. So if you wanted to, you can just pull it up, or you can rotate it and so on. In this case, we'll just pull it up, but you could just rotate it in whatever you like. I'm just going to leave it like that. That seems to be about right for what I'm looking for in this particular case. I'm going to hit Return on the keyboard, and that's going to do that for me. And now you've got all sorts of other options you can play around with. If you're not keen on that being too bold, you can come up here and you can just wind down the opacity a little bit. Let's say to, in that case, 46. I'm going to come down to this one and bring that down to something similar as well. So just so we start getting that sort of just a bit more interest, perhaps creeping into this particular texture that we're playing on now, and you can just, if you like, play around with things like the blending modes if you want to try different things and different effects like that. Or if you wish, I'll put that back actually, let's just do one thing at a time. Or if you wish, you can come down and start applying things like things such as drop shadows and so on. Although you really have to start playing around, see what sort of effects you want. Okay, that's a bad example. That's not going to work terribly well in this case. But finally, what I'll probably do on this one is again combine these layers. So Command Alt Shift E and make a new layer. Control Alt Shift E on the PC, and just then play around with things like, let's say, in this case, shadows and highlights. We can do things there. So I can just really whop these things around. What's nice about these sort of things is you can play around with these sliders to a far greater extent than you would normally do in a photograph. This will probably create halos and all manner of things, but in these things it doesn't really matter what you do because you're looking to create a texture, so it doesn't really matter. Just sort of bash away and play around and get things that work for you. You can quite happily go into curves and just play around and see what this is going to do for you, and just have a mess around with the curves, just play around with it and see. This is the beauty of this. You're not going to do any harm. Everything's going to work for you in many respects. So that's what it's all about. Have a bit of fun, play around, and see what we can come up with. Really, I'd be really keen if anybody comes up with some interesting textures to let's have a look at them. And if anybody's interested in sharing textures, that'd be great as well. Anyway, I'll stop harping on. I'm sure you've heard enough of me on this topic so far. So hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to the next one. Cheers.